South Africa has experienced its worst load shedding in the past 5 years. At its worst, the country saw persistent stage 6 power cuts. Now, the move towards renewable energy was expedited, but still this is not enough. In his address last night, President Cyril Ramaphosa said the country has to overcome the crippling power cuts that are driving the economy to its knees. Professor Sampson Mamphweli, head of Energy Secretariat at the South African National Energy Development Institute, joins us now for this discussion. Prof, a very good afternoon and thank you so much for joining us.
Welcome, Gwena, and the viewers.
Just on the State of the Nation address, is there anything specifically that stood out for you from the President's presentation last night?
So the President basically gave an update on the implementation of his Energy Action Plan, and then he further talked about the hydrogen projects, and he gave an example of the Bohubay project in the Northern Cape and the Special Economic Zone there. Now, on the Energy Action Plan itself, it's got the short-term, the mid-term, and the long-term measures. On the short-term measures, the President talked about the funding that was made available to Eskom so that they can fix the coal fleet, which is the 256 billion rand that government made available for Eskom to be able to pay their debt, and then they can use their reserves to basically fix the coal fleet. Whether that is working or not, I think that's a story for another day. We need to really look deep into that. Looking at the fact that we still have problems in terms of the energy availability factor of the coal fleet, even many months after that facility was made available. He then also touched on new generation capacity, where he talked about the 120 projects that are coming online because of the government basically allowing IPPs to produce electricity without having to go through the process of acquiring a generation license. We know that NERSA has registered about 10,000 megawatts out of those 120 projects. So we see some improvements there coming online. He talked also about the small-scale embedded generation, which is basically your rooftop solar PV. And he mentioned the 4 gigawatts that came online as a result of government making available funding for people, for households and businesses to basically go through a rebate program and secure funding for their solar PV, which is 15% or 25,000 rands. We have seen that uptake, and I was at Eskom at some point, sometime last week. You can see the impact of that 4 gigawatts during the day when the sun is shining. On the Bohubay project, he talked about the hydrogen project and the fact that that project is going to create a lot of jobs, and it will also come with a massive renewable energy installation. I'm acutely aware of that particular project. My office is basically coordinating the feasibility study on behalf of Northern Cape Economic Development Agency, working with the Transnet Port Authority and other role players. And I know that it's quite a lot of money that is involved in that particular project going forward, but that's on the long-term kind of a situation. That project, together with other hydrogen projects such as the one in Kaveja, where Hive Energy is working on a massive hydrogen project, they come with huge renewable energy installations, some of which will then assist in terms of dealing with security of supply of energy. So those are some of the things that the President touched on, including obviously the just energy transition part of things, where he emphasized the fact that when we implement the decarbonization agenda for the country, we must never leave anyone behind, especially those who are working in the carbon-intensive industry.
Now, there's been also the move by private sector really to address the energy deficit, but this seems to have come at quite a price.
Yes, so the private sector comes in through the REAP program and also through the private investments that are going into either households or into businesses. So what happens with the REAP program, it was started after we published the Integrated Resource Plan 2010, and then that program went on until the Integrated Resource Plan was revised in 2018. That gave rise to the Integrated Resource Plan 2019. What we have seen is that when you bring in the private sector, and then you ensure that there is competition, which is something that the president also touched on in terms of the reforms in the electricity sector yesterday. When you bring that competition, it basically leads to lower electricity prices. I've tracked that from bid window 1 all the way to bid window 6. You can see the price of electricity dropping from the IPP side of things. There are other projects that are planning to do wheeling through the Eskom grid. During the time that they will be wheeling their electricity to their various customers, they will be offsetting some of the demand from the national utility grid, and that will then result in addressing the load shedding challenge. The president did mention the issue around the grid capacity constraints. We know that there's about 3,000 megawatts or so that could not be announced by Minister Mantashe in the Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and Western Cape because of grid constraints, and government is working now on that particular aspect.
Prof. Mamphweli, unfortunately we are out of time, but thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. Appreciate your time and your insight. Professor Sampson Mamphweli, Head of Energy Secretariat at the South African National Energy Development Institute, just talking to us and reflecting on the President's State of the Nation address.